Hey. That's true. Much easier. You got regular.
All right, I'll call the meeting to order. We have a forum. We don't have anybody joining at one time.
Correct.
All right. So is there anyone from the
No,
public?
from the public.
All right. So next is approval of the minutes.
We had one note of Emily not being at the January meeting, but were there any other changes that you guys saw?
I think, you mean Ashley was at, no, Emily was at the last meeting, but
Lauren was.
it was.
Yes, that was the other
I
one.
was
Yes.
not.
Yeah.
It was Andy. I was there.
You were there.
Maybe I was, no, you can see now.
Vertically challenged. All right, any other comments on the minutes? Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. All right. So next is the financial report.
Got nothing major to report this go around. We are coming up on the next round of bond invoicing data, so that's next up on the docket.
Okay, great. Any questions or comments on the financial report? All right, unfinished business, follow up on Stephen Pedigo's Civic Soul presentation. Is our slide?
This is your reference. Yes.
So I think this was just on the agenda to see if anybody had anything that came out of that discussion that they didn't share, that they want to share. Stephen has put together a memo that that I looked at and gave him a few comments on, and I think we should have distributed that sometime shortly. Emily had a few things as well, so, but I think it's good. It really lays out a framework, and then once we get that, we can talk about, you know, how much of that we want to adopt and put in place. But he has some good suggestions about ways to evaluate things and think about processes. So I think it's good. Anything anybody has to? All right. Then new business. So food and beverage CPG Accelerator. Okay, Hayduck is here.
Yeah.
And Hope is here as well to present on this implementation grant request. And because I am on the Venture Central board, I'm going to recuse myself from the discussion, and our able vice chair will lead the discussion. Bring it on.
Well, thank you so much for having us here. I'm going to go to our first slide. So we're here to talk about a program that we've been working on for about a year. It directly supports 6 of your strategies in your economic development strategic plan, which I will go through. But first, a quick introduction of myself. My name is Hope Lawrence. I am a program manager or program director with Venture Central. I work with the SBDC with food and beverage companies as an advisor. And I formerly had the Hudson Henry Granola Company in Fluvanna County, which I grew to just over $1 million in revenue and exited in 22. And since then, I've been working with the various nonprofits in Albemarle and Charlottesville. So I just wanted to start with these numbers and just sit with them for a moment, because the project of a food and beverage accelerator directly sits with what's going on in Albemarle County with your food processing and agribusinesses. So it's your largest employer with 2,147 jobs, largest or strongest export sector. So 82.7% of sales sold outside of the region, most specialized cluster, but it's the lowest wage cluster. And that's what we're focusing on and working on. So we don't see this as a weak sector at all. It's an underserved growth sector or growth engine, something that we can help and work on. So to give you background, I've passed out some of our reports from our planning grants. So Go Virginia funded a 12-month planning grant. It was February to February. We just wrapped it up, presented this report, which was approved by the task force and by the council. And through that project, I worked with stakeholders, entrepreneurs, held focus groups, surveys, Did a best practice review, so looked at other accelerators around the US, really around the world. And reviewed our SEDS reports, our REI report, in alignment with county priorities. So the goal of the planning grant was, is there a need for a food and beverage accelerator in our region? And so that was, what I set out to find. And through this review, the problem that is really what we're trying to solve is 92% of our food and beverage manufacturers. So that's what we mean by CPG and the focus of this project. So food and beverage manufacturers operate under $1 million in revenue in our region. Half of them are stuck between 100,000 and $1 million. So we call it a plateau. They have products, they're out there, they have customers, but they're just unable to scale. And it's like, well, why are they unable to scale? But before we get to that, the other point with it is, so when you have low revenue, often you have low wages. So to give you an idea of Hudson Henry, I started in the basement of my home. I hired production staff, eventually grew out of my home, went to the Fluvanna Food Lion strip mall and had 4,500 square feet, 12 employees. I had an operations manager. I had someone that came in and worked on sales. So as a business scales, which is what this gentleman come on in. As a business scales, you can hire these higher wage positions, right? So sales, marketing, operations all come into play as revenue increases. So if this is our problem, why do we have this situation? The gaps that I found, and again, so this was looking at other accelerators, what are the best practices? What do entrepreneurs really need to grow? Talking to our entrepreneurs and looking at our ecosystem. So the 5 critical gaps that exist are specialized knowledge gaps. So our existing entities provide basically what I call incubation, right? So you start your business, maybe you get to your first farmer's market, but beyond that, you really need specialized knowledge to grow. So FDA compliance, working with co-packers, specialized distribution, so starting to work with UNFI, Rainforest, K-Heat, what have you. Those aren't covered by existing programs. So again, like me working with SBDC, I'm the person that's called in to help with those more specialized cases. On top of that, in general, no scale programming exists in our region. So for scaling up, that programming just isn't available. Expert access, so it's difficult and expensive it's just off a little bit. It's difficult and expensive to engage with experts. So if someone who is just starting their business or trying to grow their business, it's hard for them to find or pay for those experts. And then no peer networks. You really need a community to help you. And so founders are building really in isolation. I remember going to the farmer's market and asking anyone and everyone who would talk to me, questions about, can I sell? I didn't even know when I first started, like, can I sell across the US with my Shopify website? Who is the buyer at Whole Foods? And how do I pitch Whole Foods? So really the peer network is crucial in scaling a business. And then the support that we do have is just fragmented. Everyone is doing a little bit for the entrepreneurs, but it's really operating without coordination. So those would be our gaps and, why we have the problem. So with this slide, I know this a lot, but if we just look at the middle column, we already talked about the problems. The middle column is what would we do and what would we provide? And then the impact would be the outcomes and things that I can track and report back to you. So it's all measurable. So what we are proposing with a food and beverage accelerator would be these components. So structured curriculum over 8 months with monthly workshops, coaching one-on-one with the entrepreneur to help them with their specific business and their specific business problems. A curated network of specialty experts. So I have a spreadsheet across 9 different categories of people that I know or people that we've met who could either volunteer their time or paid expert hours that the entrepreneur can work directly with these experts. It's a cohort model, so the peer network is there with cohorts and networking events. We'll take 8 to 10 companies per year over 2 years, so up to 20 companies total over the 2 years. And then providing direct connections with distributors, buyers, trade show support, and really helping to have those connections and working with our other partners. So Beacon, I've talked to Carver, up in Culpeper, SBDC, VDAX, CIC, et cetera. So really bringing everyone together and not having a fragmented experience for the entrepreneurs. And just so you know, so it's not theoretical. So the demand is proven. 84% of the surveyed entrepreneurs expressed interest in participating. The gap is documented. The model is validated. Again, really that third-party research looking at other accelerators and white papers on do accelerators, and these are more in the report, but do accelerators actually work? Like, do they actually help businesses grow? And we've seen that with other, obviously, accelerators in other sectors. So we have tech accelerators, life science accelerators. So the model of having an accelerator is validated. And then finally, the program advances Go Virginia and obviously other priorities of trade sector expansion, collaboration, higher wage job, and leveraging existing assets. So we're not duplicating what someone else is doing. We're leveraging it and adding to it. So most importantly with you, and I had this meeting and presented a report on this, is for each of our counties in our region, and in particularly with Albemarle, we looked at your strategic plan and where does this fit with you? Like, do you care about food and beverage and is it important? And with agriculture as well. So, and I won't read all of this, but the accelerator supports 6 of your goal 3 strategies. So strategy 3.3, a rural business resource hub. Literally, that's what the accelerator would do, provide these resources. We're also building an online resource hub for everyone else. So we got a grant through the PATH Foundation. Right now, I'm just focused in Culpeper, Rappahannock, and Fauquier because that's the counties that PATH covers. But that's an online resource hub for any entrepreneur to have access to resources and a place to have peer chats and ask me questions or what have you. So that's something that we could roll out more broadly. 3.4, wholesale and scalable market pathways. So those are those introductions and connections with buyers. And then 3.5, agribusiness sector partnership, the meetups, the peer network, and even the online resources. So having a place to list, like, here's farms in our county, and Joe provides milk, and who could buy directly for their packaged food business. Like, could you use local resources instead of getting things off the Cisco truck? So, and then the last 3 are more indirect, but I still think we support them. So land use and zoning and infrastructure assessment, I'll combine those 2. We would provide feedback to you as I talk to participants on any problems that they have with land use and zoning, and then infrastructure assessment, particularly with cold storage, processing, broadband. That feedback could come back to you as we work with the participants. And then finally, 3.7 with agritourism economy, support and resources for farm-based tourism. There, I'm looking at trying to get farms to sell off farm. So maybe they have they sell on farm. Could we talk to them about, could you package something and have another revenue stream and start selling off farm and move into the world of packaged goods? So our projected outcomes over the grant period, again, so 2-year grant period, and then 5-year follow-up, we're looking at 15 to 30% average growth revenue for the participants, 45 new jobs created, and again, not just production jobs, but these would be sales, operations, marketing type jobs at higher wages. Expanded trade sector sales, so selling outside of our region. 16 to 20 businesses served, plus 50 plus more, I think, through the online resource hub. And then multiplier effect. So as a business grows, their demand for farm products, packaging, logistics, it all starts to, spread a little bit, and we would see multiplier effects in those adjacent sectors. So our ask, and we'll have any questions that you have at the end. So what we're seeking is 25,000 a year, per year for 2 years, so 50,000 total. Our budget is 380,000, approximately 190 a year. We might have a little bit more in year 2. So that is our request. We would love to work with you on this project. I think, especially with Albemarle, we have so many food and beverage businesses in this county. I have a database of over 80, and I checked right before I came, I think 38 were in Albemarle, but that was between purely CPG type companies and farms. But definitely a strong showing for Albemarle County. So thank you. I don't know if I went a little bit over time there, but any questions for
I
us?
have two. So how do you link up? How do they, if I'm a new entrepreneur, how do I know you exist?
So we see, so SBDC sees a lot of the new businesses. I think putting the word out there, which we would with this project, I reached out to, like I said, I've got a database of over 80 between farms and CPG, word of mouth, working with chambers of commerce, working with the EDA, the economic development folks. It's a lot of word of mouth, and then just research.
So if I can add to that too, we're already part of the Virginia Accelerator Network. And so across the state, we know that this is an unmet need. And even on Hope's advisory board, she's connected with USDA, VA fairs, VDACs, Virginia's Finest, like all of these entities that are touching on these food businesses that are disconnected. They are not connected on any platform. That's actually why we started with the online resource platform. But as part of that, what Hope is doing as well is in each municipality, she's holding events. And those events are not only for the packaged foods companies, but to bring in the food trucks, because maybe they've got a special sauce, inviting the restaurants, inviting the agribusinesses, bringing them all to the food conversation to see if they have a vision for a packaged goods business. And I don't know if you all saw 60 Minutes last night. Oh my God. Right, I was like, this is the perfect time, right? The whole, packaged goods industry, all the big companies and the pushback on how their products are causing all kinds of health issues, and highly processed foods are an issue.
Yeah.
We're a state already of specialty foods. We're actually doing amazingly well, and a lot of them come out of this region. And Region 9 has 4 commercial kitchens. Hope is on the board of Carver Center, which is the one in Culpeper. She's been meeting with Beacon and connecting them. So we're in a really interesting position in this region to address that need.
So my next question, how do you know you're gonna create 45 jobs?
How do I know that we're gonna?
Yeah.
We have, and I forget, and it's in the report, the research shows the number of increased revenues and increased jobs through research. And then obviously just estimating what we can do over the 5-year period.
If you go back one slide,
Yes.
16 to 20 businesses served.
Right.
How many would you expect to be in Albemarle County?
So we can't guarantee like placement in the accelerator. Would be an application based process. But as I said, so I think I had, did I say 38 or 48, 38 of my 80 were from Albemarle. So I would think a good percentage, but we cannot promise who will or would not make it into the accelerator. I would think a good amount would be from Albemarle, between Albemarle and Charlottesville.
And then in your $190,000 a year budget.
Yep.
What commitments do you have so far?
Oh, Rebecca, you want to?
Oh, from the other municipalities? So we have confirmed the city of Charlottesville, Nelson County,
Madison.
Fauquier County, Madison, Orange is in for 1 year. They couldn't make the commitment for 2. There were some town of Culpeper County and Rappahannock had some issues where they couldn't address it now, but they may be able to come in next year or later. I don't think they're gonna make it in time for this application. Am I missing it? Louisa, we haven't got confirmed yet, but we had a conversation with them. Is there anybody else?
So
I'm missing?
just.
Oh, and Green cannot participate financially, but they would like to be an in-kind partner.
So mostly yeses other than 4. Localities.
Yes.
So, on the businesses, do you, and I guess there's an application process, do you ensure that they're viable businesses already prior to going into this program?
Correct. So with the marketing and the outreach that we're doing, we've already started a list of, revenue numbers that we can obtain or that they've told me directly. So the survey has actually had a revenue question. So we have a list and then we would also open it up to anyone that we, haven't discovered yet. But yes, definitely companies that are in business, have some revenue and want to scale, right? Not everybody wants to scale, but looking for the entrepreneur that does.
Do you, one more follow-up question, do you categorize what type of business, obviously this is in the food industry, but you don't want, I make cheese and you make cheese and you make cheese and we're all competing with each other, trying to make cheese.
That'd be
So you
better.
want-
Better.
Yeah. How do you manage the different industries that are the businesses?
I haven't actually thought about that. I don't know that I would exclude 2 businesses that were doing the same thing. I was believe in abundance and there's plenty of business to go around, but I guess we could, notify them like, hey, we have 2 cookie companies. Are you sure you both want to participate if we were to give offers to 2 different, but the same product?
I just didn't know if they were then competing for the same resources and the same shelf space.
Right.
If that would be something that would end up being a problem.
But I'll definitely consider that. Yeah, it's a good point.
Oh, I'm not a charge, so.
Oh.
Yeah, you just sit there.
When you say food and beverage, because I have a lot of, in my area, there's a lot of vineyards,
Right.
wineries and everything. One of their biggest complaints is that they cannot sell in the quantities they want to some of the, like Costco or some of the other bigger places because of state regulations. And then I asked, a couple of restaurants, cause I go to restaurants a lot. I don't go. So anyway.
You heard about.
You've heard about that. That they don't use, usually in Europe, when you're in a town and you have food and wine, the wines, a lot of them come from the area.
Mhm.
Ours don't, and I asked that question, why are we using local Virginia wines? They say, because they're a lot more expensive.
Right.
Because of the state regulations.
Do you want to talk to the wine brand or you want me to cover that?
Well, I don't know if you're familiar with the wine coalitions through Nelson County. Matt Brown is managing that. They actually got a Go Virginia implementation grant to try to support the wine industry in Virginia because it's actually bigger than New York's wine industry. It's one that has been underdeveloped and under-supported, and they've got a great plan for supporting the wineries and apparently have been making really great progress with that. On the advisory board for the Food and Beverage Accelerator is Chris Van Orden, who is the craft beverage consultant for Virginia. And also we actually, through Venture Central, we bring all the accelerators together, including Commonwealth Bio Hub, to kind of work together and stay in touch with each other on how we're supporting companies.
We did a great, can you remind everybody? what
Yeah, we did it now.
We did do,
Yeah.
yes, so I'm involved with the Virginia Wine Coalition that Rebecca's referring to, and they've got a lot of mobility currently happening. Maureen Kelly from Nelson County came and presented at one point in the recent months. And I'll be happy to connect everybody with those resources to see. They have lots of great webinars and information on how we can continue to propel the Virginia wine business forward.
I feel like-
Sure. Does this, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe
Yeah.
that this grant particularly is not associated with alcoholic beverages, correct?
Right,
That's sad.
however, we're not shutting the door,
Okay.
right, because craft, well, if you guys in Albemarle County in the city of Charlottesville, two of our biggest exits were with Devil's Backbone and, shoot, what's the, Waterbird,
Yeah.
right? So, yeah, we're not saying we're doing craft beverage or alcoholic beverages at this time, but that doesn't mean that these resources aren't gonna benefit them, or that we might not open that up in the future.
Okay.
Just as a, oh, I'm sorry, please go ahead.
I was just gonna say from what I'm hearing from the wine industry is they really are at risk of going out of business. Which is one of the reasons why we all supported having, under certain circumstances, a restaurant or something. Because it's not doing well. Overall in sales and everything, but someone told me, they said that they figure by the end of 26, maybe even half wouldn't be. And the county wouldn't be in business anymore, so I think something, we all like wine. So,
Well, I mean, just as a layman, you go into Harris Teeter and there's 1 million California wines and there's like a few Virginia, and I go, really?
right,
What's up?
exactly.
So where is the glitch? Why, is it
Right.
a state level?
It's a lot of it are state regulations. They can't, we have a Costco and they can't sell to Costco. Wait, excuse me, I'm sorry. They can't take their product in Albemarle and just take it over to Costco. It has to go from the winery to somebody, to a middle person, and then, then the Costco, and the price goes up all over the place. Which is why they're more
And this is
expensive.
the distilleries as well,
Yeah.
same problem, it's a really tough state.
So this is new, because when I came here 30 years ago, we had a few wineries. We had an explosion of wineries and breweries and whiskey. I mean, I know Maureen personally over the years, she's worked hard with Nelson County to do all that. But yeah, I'm like to Steve's question, what all, I mean, now is it bell curve that we've saturated the market and now it's declining? I know my kids don't drink. Not like me anyway.
Yeah.
I knew somebody had a good joke.
Well, I know, but that's a trend. Okay,
No,
so-
it is, yes.
I'm just curious, if it's really regulation, because you'd have to point me to a policy, a law that changed recently.
It's not that recent, if you guys are really interested in this.
Yeah, I am.
Denver Riggleman was all over
Oh,
this.
yeah.
Right.
I would
Right,
imagine,
right,
right?
Yeah. Well, and yeah, Ian Christine, I mean, they opened a second facility in Pennsylvania. We've been through this through Charlottesville Angel Network, because they were probably one of the
Right.
first investments. And everybody learned a lot after that.
Yeah.
Happy to put in, and Matt Brown is a great person, or Maureen Kelly to talk to about the
Yeah.
wineries. They're all over that.
And where is he?
Oh, we can email
He's
connect you.
leading, but he's a consultant leading that.
Maybe future agenda item.
Yeah, that'd be.
He presented, but we
He
had
has
some
presented.
turnover of 3, 4, I think 4 new people since he was last in.
We have future agenda item for leading.
But to your point about the declining business and in the wine industry, the consumer packaged goods accelerator that Rebecca and Hope are here discussing. It definitely serves a gap in our ecosystem, and with food processing and agribusiness being one of our target sectors, this certainly hits those notes.
Yeah, so a couple of questions. What's the amount of the Go Virginia implementation grant? I didn't see that.
So our budget is, let me go back to that, is 380,000, so it's not half.
Well, so this is the minimum, I'll
Yeah.
answer, yeah, so we haven't set the determination because we don't have everybody's numbers yet. If we don't get at least this much, we can't launch. And so Go Virginia needs a 50% match, so if it's $100,000, we need $50,000 in match from the municipalities or other cash participants. Right, and it doesn't always have to be cash. But we need cash this is the minimum budget we need to get this going, so that's really what we're looking for. And this will be a hybrid accelerator, it's going to move around. People can join in person, but we're also gonna cover the region, right? Because there's assets all over the region. Sort of similar to the conversations around the innovation corridor, right? There are assets all up and down Region 9. And so we want to make sure to tap into what already exists.
Okay, so you're looking, it sounds like, for a commitment of 190,000 across the jurisdictions, is that fair?
Yearly,
Per year.
yeah, per year for the two.
No, the way I understand it is 190,000 for the match. Which then provides.
No, that it would
be
is it a third? It would be a third of that. Am I doing my math right? Right, the total?
It's a 50% match.
It's 50% match
So it'd
to
be
go
like two,
Virginia.
so like 240 from the state and 120
Right,
from the
would take us to
locality.
360, so
So approximately
250,
240,
130.
120,
Yeah,
250, 125.
Oh,
So you need 125 approximately from the jurisdictions, is that right?
yes, and then that would get us, that would be 375.
Yeah.
okay, so. So you're looking for, from us, a fairly big amount of your commitment. I'm just trying to wrap my head around it and then sort of trying to come up with what's our.
Yeah.
What's the return on investment to the county?
Mhm.
Right, so you mentioned the 38. If we're talking about. 50 is about 40% of the investment you're looking for. 40% of 45 jobs is, I can't do that math, but the 18, let's say 18 jobs. 18 jobs over 5 years in the county for a $50,000 investment. What is,
I think you have to also
Well-
consider the fact that each of these businesses that they will be serving, so they have the additional job creation,
Mhm.
but they're also serving between 16 and 20 jobs. If you look at basically a, $2,000 investment per business to help educate them and help them grow and help them. That's a pretty low investment across the board per business for the county to invest to move things forward.
Sure, it goes back across the region, right? So, if we're asking, and I know this is gonna sound a bit selfish, but.
Go ahead.
We're Albemarle
Go
County.
ahead.
Right, I mean, this is the Albemarle County Economic Development Authority, right? Right, the return on investment for Albemarle County businesses, whether it's the creation of jobs, which leads to tax revenue there, whether it's the expansion of businesses, which leads to tool taxes as opposed to necessarily real estate taxes, right? We're talking about sort of, broadening our tax base, right? Taking it off the residential. And so I'm trying to figure out what's our.
Mhm.
I'd like to see more numbers that reflect what that might show in terms of the amount of our investment for. I get where you're coming from in terms of $2,000 per company across all of Go Virginia, but, or Region 9, but that's where my current struggle is, trying to get some of that number back.
But
And
having been a former CEO of a company in Savannah. When you look at we're so reliant on
Mhm.
each other. I live in Charlottesville. My husband and I have a business in Charlottesville, but I worked in Savannah and our employees, they came here for lunch and I think the thing is that I think we have to be careful just to isolate it and say, what is in it for us at this moment to make this investment? When we look at it as a whole, overall, we grow because people, their spouses work and there's so much overlap. I think that I also really like the fact that if we are supporting our agricultural businesses by giving them outlets to sell their products, even other investments that we've done with the honey and the vineyards and things like that. Supporting this, how I see it, also supports previous investments that this authority has made because we're continuing that growth.
sure, and as a former owner of a wine retail business in Charlottesville. Trust me, the 3-tier system was the bane of our existence for years, and we've had the same problem in terms of scaling to get to a number.
Right.
Because we got stuck between 600,000 and 800,000 when I decided it was time for me to exit.
Right.
And so I get where you're coming
Right.
from in terms of You know, and I think Dr. Hastings talked about, right, there's this gap and this trough where you can't get from here to here without going through this middle. But it's one of those things where if we're gonna play a large role financially, and yes, it does benefit the entire region. I think we can be aggressive in saying, let's make sure that Albemarle County businesses get considered, and with 38 out of 80, then they're going to be. But I would be looking, the other question I had dealt with post 2028 funding. Because it talks about corporate sponsorships and 30 identified grant sources. Have you made any attempts at applying for grants from those sources, or is that too far down the line at this point? And if you have, what's your results?
Sure, I'll talk about the grants and then you do the.
Okay, strategic partnerships.
Yep. So we hired basically a grant writer or grant researcher, and that's where we came up with that list. So I think it was actually 80 on the list, and then we whittled it down to, most likelies. The Path Foundation being our first, so the $25,000 investment from them was just the start to do the resource hub. We think that we could go back to them. They have I emailed you about it today, flexible funding. That launches in July, so we would be able to go back, and they offer that twice a year. So there are a number of grants. I think in the whole world of grants, it's a bit difficult at the moment. RFSI was just announced, so Beacon and Parker Kitchen was able to get federal funding. That was USDA money that went down to VDACs. So we'll actively apply for grants, and that is the goal of this, that it's not just a 2-year project, that it's a multi-year project, and that we could have funding not just from the counties going forward, but from these foundations, grants, et cetera. And then Rebecca has been working more with direct sponsorships, so do you want to talk to that?
Well, before she does, you said something that caught my ear, that the county's going forward, so you would anticipate coming back in 28 and beyond?
We would.
No, not with-
We would not
no.
come back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the assumption is that this is a self-sustaining accelerator, and that's, if you look at the national models, that's how they work. And we are in a really interesting state. The EDP is also on Hope's advisory board. I'm not gonna start throwing out the names of some of the bigger food and beverage businesses, but there are a number of them. And if you look at what's happened in Virginia, we've got some real winners that have done very well. But we also know that we're moving into a sector that is incredibly timely, and it's a workforce issue, right? And there's a lot of foundations and support that are related to workforce, and this is, in particular, I talk about it similarly to life sciences because it's very specialized. It's very different, right? But it is an upward economic mobility kind of area where you can take someone who has almost no skills, get them into production, provide them with certifications. We now have multiple certification vehicles for food processing in Region 9. Advance their pay, right? And build that. We also know this is an infrastructure intensive type of business, but our state knows how to build it. And with things like Beacon and Carver that are handling the ground level and getting those starter companies going, it's sort of like having an R&D engine, right? And 2 big ones in this region. It doesn't really exist elsewhere. So as it relates to the strategics, the plan is definitely to be a feeder. Now we know the Sargento family is here, right? We've chatted with them, but we know you got to hit about 20 million in sales before they're going to perform an acquisition. And things are changing, as was evidenced by 60 Minutes last night.
Yeah.
Everything's changing. So this specialty food, more natural, less processed, which is what Virginia is about, is an interesting opportunity.
Why don't you mention the nexus of that with 60 Minutes? I mean, to RFK Jr. and the other person who used to be in charge of the FDA, they're now agreeing that, like they said, read the labels, and if you can't pronounce it, then you shouldn't be eating it.
Yeah.
And they even said that this is the cause for all the obesity. And I think we all know that anyway.
Yeah.
But all these foods are readily available for the lower income people, you know, they can't buy the other stuff. They're actually saying that fresh fruit is less expensive. So I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
But, you know, that was very, it's having a big impact on us as Americans, frankly, or in our whole nation.
Yeah.
So I think there's gonna be a lot of movement on that, going to fresh.
Well, absolutely, but just to continue Director Storm's selfish line of questioning a little bit. How did you come up with the ask of 50K to Albemarle, just out of
Per
curiosity?
capita, so
Okay.
it was sort of the ask was generally in that range for everyone. Some we got higher, some we got lower,
Okay,
some
but
we
you're
got
making
none.
Green opted not to play at all.
Well, and you know, I don't wanna get into everybody's politics, right?
Sure,
But
sure.
some counties don't have, there's a lot of Go Virginia grants
Okay.
that have come along, right? And so we're not even applying for local money because there isn't any anymore. It's all gone. Region 9 is the top Go Virginia municipality in getting the Go Virginia grants and succeeding in the Go Virginia grants. And that is from DHCD, who runs the program. So we are, you know, Commonwealth Bio Accelerator, Siegel Bio Hub, the workforce projects, innovation corridor, you know, work that's moving it, the wine coalition, there's so many things that have gotten Go Virginia grants that some of these municipalities have no budget left for matches. And that's where we've kind of come in at the, you know, the end of a lot of projects where we have a few that just can't participate.
If I'm not mistaken, New Hill just got a very substantial either grant or earmark. And I think it has to do with Beacon, is that right?
$900,000.
Yeah, how does that factor into all this, or doesn't it?
It does. Do you want to answer that?
So, not to go, I think the RFSI grant that they got was from 2024, so it's actually just very delayed. So that was, my understanding is that was for their building and how that will work, since it's been 2 years and the grant's just now coming out. But the relationships with Beacon, Savannah has a kitchen, Carver, that's where it all starts. And that's where someone, you know, maybe gets out of their home or they start building their business there. I've already started working with different businesses that work with Carver and Beacon. I think you guys did a grant for Penny's Imperfect Pizza.
Yep.
I was actually the one that told her about the grant and said, you need to go apply for this.
Oh, I was gonna say, many of the businesses that we work with have come to us by way of Hope, so Hope is a fixture.
You didn't bring us any pizza though.
Honey, neither did Penny.
We got honey in one.
Now we're really getting selfish.
Yeah, exactly.
We can show up
I
at
just
the
want to
next
be consistent.
meeting. Right,
Right.
do local food.
Yeah.
And this group had done to help Beacon, right, there was a grant to Beacon.
Several years ago.
Early in there, so it's not that we're not invested across the jurisdictions and with Beacon and in this sector as a body, and it's been a couple of years, but we're consistent with the Wine Coalition.
Right.
And businesses, right, the pollinator business sort of straddles counties, if I remember correctly.
Right, and much like the Go Virginia grants, there is a regional capacity that's required. The aphid grants that are distributed are typically awarded and preferential selection is given to those that are regionally collaborative, so that's always a good thing, no matter how you slice it.
And just to close the loop on Beacon, I mean, the idea there is, you know, I get in there, work with the businesses, they grow their revenue. They're using more time at Beacon and they're using more time at Carver, so that's more revenue for Beacon. It's more revenue for the business. So yeah, we called it the messy middle, but we weren't crazy on that term, but it is a messy middle. Like when I first started my granola company, I was like, right, I'm gonna get to $1 million in 5 years. And I had a little Post-it note and it was like 200, 400, 600, 800. I thought it would take me 5 years. And you mentioned the 600. I was stuck at 600,000 for like 3 years and could not budge. So these resources I wish we had these resources, right? Like I never talked to the Charlottesville Angel Network. I never reached out to the SBDC. So I think the opportunity is there to, like I said, we have CIC, SBDC, the kitchens helping someone start a business. We don't have anyone to grow a business, right? And to, so if we can get to the folks, help them grow, help them to spend more time at, Beacon and the other kitchens.
These
That's the goal.
resources have never been put together before, which is kind of mind boggling, right? Because there's so many of them, but they're not coordinated and they're not in one place. And all of the tools and connections and documents and, Hope has all of that, but she's been meeting sort of one-on-one through SBDC with people. So that's why we need an accelerator. We need to bring the mentors in. We need to bring the whole network together. The online resource hub is going to be a huge tool, and also getting all of the agribusinesses on there, as well as the food producers and the distributors and the packaged goods and Beacon and Carver. Yes, they're sort of an entry level. You can get things done. There's a ton of little brick and mortar operations that are tucked all over the place, right? And they're not connected to each other or to the resources because they just got to dig around and hope they find the right one.
So if we're good, there's a resolution for you guys to consider. If you guys feel compelled to vote on it, I'll leave it up to you since you're in charge of the moment.
I feel compelled to vote on it.
Don't you think we should do that in executive session?
Yeah,
Or should we?
You want us to
walk
walk
out?
out, just leave?
That's now?
that's a good idea.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
There is no.
There's
no
no-
closed session
Yeah.
scheduled.
Yeah, there's no
Yeah,
executive session.
Oh, I'm happy to walk.
You
Yeah.
can stay.
Oh, that's up to you.
No, I'm not.
Steve, you're the boss. What do you say, Steve?
You can stay.
Okay.
He's exerting his power.
You're upset.
Yes.
So you're in agreement to vote? All right, we'll do a,
I move that the EPA, I move that the Economic Development Authority adopt a resolution to appropriate matching funds to support Venture Central Food and Beverage Consumer Packaging Goods CPG Accelerator.
Second.
okay.
In the amount,
Oh, is there a discussion?
in the amount that was presented, this doesn't say an amount.
Yes, the amount that is presented in the resolution.
Yeah, that-
25,
Good question.
the 25
for you.
Yeah.
That's, wouldn't that be in?
The resolution is
no,
included in your
that's-
packet.
This is the full resolution. That's a
Oh.
reference.
Oh, okay.
For this
Oh, okay,
resolution.
okay, sorry.
That's the Reader's Digest version.
Okay,
Did you vote?
Well, is there discussion?
Yeah, that's,
So
it is, yes, I meant to say, is there a discussion? All right, so it's like we're ready to take vote.
Lauren, does this require a
Yours,
local vote?
Somebody seconded the motion?
Oh,
Yeah.
Sorry, what was your question?
Do we require a roll call vote for this particular resolution?
Yeah, I think you ought to. Yeah.
okay. Director Hood,
Aye.
Director Johnson,
Aye.
Director Storm,
Aye.
Director Metchnik,
Aye.
Director Friedman,
Aye.
Director Cox.
All right.
Thank you. Great.
Thank you all very much.
And then actually just, whoever's being the secretary's thing.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
March, early March. So we're gathering all the letters now.
Director Long,
All right.
may I
Yes.
proceed with the staff report, sir?
Yes. Yes.
All right, staff report, next slide, please. VRE count for, since our last meeting has been 2 agribusiness and food processing visits, 3 biotech and life science, and 1 complementary sector. Earlier this month in this very building, the Siegel Bio Hub held the Device and Tech Expo, which was an amazing event. There were more exhibitors this year, 30 than ever before, I believe, right? It was, the exhibitors were made up of companies from here in Albemarle County, the city of Charlottesville, regionally, and some, a couple from out of state. But you see on the right, the bottom right, I thought that was one of the coolest ones. It's one of Micro Air's carpal tunnel surgical implementations. Here, I could keep saying words that don't make sense, but ultimately, they had a demonstration on how they perform that type of carpal tunnel
The
surgery.
nerds here are already joking about stuff.
Oh, of course.
I made up words
How
to
could you
describe
not?
what I saw.
How could you not?
But it was exhilarating, wonderful event, that we are happy to attend each year.
Hey, Ashley,
Yes, sir.
can I make a motion?
To do what?
Maybe, did you guys tell us this was going on or I just missed it?
We did, yeah, at the last meeting, but there's
I missed it.
chock full, this was, yeah, this was
We
at the
should have been
February,
there. At least drop
fifth
by.
meeting. Yeah.
Okay.
My wife's gonna be horrified to know that she's in that picture.
Is she? Amazing.
Cool.
Next slide, please. So, yes, so these are some upcoming events as well. We have the Tourism for All Conference that is facilitated by the CACVB, the Charlottesville Area help me out.
Charlottesville Alcohol Convention and Visitors.
Thank you very much. My academic skills are light today. But I'll be attending this event. It'll be at the Hillsdale Conference Center. It's a really neat event. They have a cohort where they work with local tourism businesses to train them and certify them in inclusive tourism experiences. And it's a neat day to check out. The Piedmont Ascent, this is the second business conference. Director Hood was a guest judge for the Piedmont Pitch that follows the Piedmont Ascent Business Conference last year. And Director Long has been a longstanding judge for that event. And we're looking for judges this year too, so keep it in mind. But that
What are they judging?
ultimately at the end of the
Small
Piedmont Ascent, they're small business, yes, they're small businesses, typically consumer
Yeah.
goods, sometimes services, with a community impact a lot of times, but these are ultimately small businesses that have gone through these Small Business Development Center business essentials trainings. And throughout that course training, they learn all they need to know about putting together a business plan and getting their business off the ground. And it ends with a pitch competition where they can win five or $10,000 combination 15 from the city of Charlottesville and Albemarle County's offices of economic development to support their growth. That event will be held on June 3rd at PBCC. There's more information on the SBDC website, as well as a lot of our socials. And then another exciting event that's coming up later this month on the 27th. 27th here at the BioHub. Charlottesville Albemarle Airport is considering adding the addition of a direct flight to Boston. Yes. Which would be really great for a lot of our biotech and life science companies and everyone else for that matter. So if you or any businesses that you work with travel to or would consider traveling to Boston, please consider attending that event. You can reach out to our office for more information, or you can email that flight to Boston at GoShow.com directly for an opportunity to share your feedback about why that would be impactful to your business.
Can we get them to fly to Caribbean?
Pardon?
So as a
27th.
former chair of the airport, will say that it's not that the airport is not considering that. The airport would love to have it, because the airport has no control over it.
Making a
It's-
case
It's
for it.
making a case to the airlines to get it. And so the more support and the more they can convince, I mean, they've got to convince the schedulers with the airlines that this flight makes sense. And Boston's always been a challenge because you're flying over other hubs and the airlines don't like to fly over other hubs, they would fly through hubs. So you've really got to show that it's going to be profitable. And in the past, all the additions have been very profitable, but it's not, it's hard to make this stuff happen. And, you know, folks at the airport may go and meet with the airlines all the time. They're like pushing. So
Thank you.
It's on Friday, the 27th from 11 to 12:30.
Lunch is served.
Pardon?
Lunches. are-
Oh, and lunches.
Even more important.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, may I make a quick comment about it? It's a project I've been involved with since 2020, talking to the airport about the demand from life sciences companies for how we can open up the life sciences market in Charlottesville, Albemarle, if we had that direct flight. It obviously got crushed in the middle of the pandemic. Following the data from where we were 5 years ago to today, I'm very encouraged by the number of seats that we can fill in these planes, and the momentum and conversations happening just by pushing this out there have brought people coming forward, really demanding this, saying we need this. People who, are from the industry, but from other industries and sectors saying this is a real opportunity. I think from the airlines perspective, there's some service that could be pulled from Richmond and the other markets. And so I've been following this data, learning a lot about the industry at the time, in the moment, but working closely with, Jason Birch and the team there at CHO to just bring the community together for advocacy, to get all of the data. And I think with that behind them, there's a really great opportunity. So I'm excited for it and just encourage you to attend and join us.
Are they
Help us.
pitching airlines at that? Or is
No,
this just
this is,
internal?
there's gonna be a representative from the Boston area who's been supporting the growth for CHO, and is gonna kind of comment on what he sees. That we're gonna talk about the future of the airport and some initiatives that they have, but also what is needed and what's the ask to the community at large to help bring the support for Boston, direct to Boston.
Gregor's long point about what's involved, I was just curious if the airlines do like statistically valid survey, is there anything in regards to, extrapolating the potential for ridership and fee and all that, and
I think they do some of that stuff. I mean, I know they do some of it. A lot of it is, how are we gonna make money, and
Right.
are we cannibalizing from other flights, and
sure,
what's gonna
Yeah.
support it? But it's, that's the argument, and the more you can have businesses, ultimately, they've got to decide, is this profitable?
right,
But there are also a lot of regulatory restraints in terms of,
Sure.
we can't just say, well, we'll give you
yeah, I mean,
$100,000.
assuming the one factor was ridership,
Yeah.
right, and
Yeah.
then the fare they could get. This event is qualitative potentially.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering about the quantitative.
There will be an ask for letters of support from businesses and to filling out the survey, which is
Okay.
very minimal, to just collect numbers.
Yeah.
So we're just trying to get momentum
Sure.
and really getting the commitment of the community to say, hey, if we get this, we want you to be aware, we want you to take this flight so that we don't lose the service
Sure.
if it does come.
Okay.
Well, and it's also now, just because of pilot shortages, it's making a decision. Am I gonna make more money here than what I'm doing with my plane right now? And you've got to show, okay, I'm gonna do it, which is why, some flights will get. And then we'll lose them because they'll see that this other route is more profitable.
There's a fun fact that I learned that Boston does not have enough parking spots for the airplanes. And so the idea that they could sell the airline on, you can come to CHO, park your airplane overnight and just return it over there, becomes another incentive.
Oh, wow.
Sure.
And the tourism factor, because a lot of people go up to Maine during the summer,
Mhm.
they go, and there's a smaller plane from Boston. You can go from Richmond to Boston, or then you can go from CHO to Boston, take a smaller plane to Bar Harbor, which. a lot of people go to.
And international, it opens up some international service.
Yeah.
Yeah, Travis Wilburn is also participating, kind of representing some tourism aspects of this.
So B, when and where is that event? You said?
It's here on the first floor.
Okay.
The conference room, in this building, Town Center 4 at 11 o'clock on February 27th.
With lunch.
I'll be happy also to share that full
Yeah.
information in an email, sort of summing all this up. Yes, ma'am. Sure. All done. Back to you, ma'am.
Oh, yeah, let's do the video first. I'd love to bring some.
All right, so. Vicky Hastings.
Great. Great, thank you for entertaining that video. I feel like you get the real flavor of this community through the videos we've been able to create. The momentum in 2025 was beyond our expectations, and truly, I think the county has been so visionary in its thoughtfulness in attracting groups like AstraZeneca to the region and to the county. It's going to really have a major impact on the innovation side, which is really what the accelerator is supporting, but also knowing that it mattered to AstraZeneca that there was a community like CBO BioHub and an accelerator and R&D work happening that they could plug into as they arrive here and get settled. That meant a lot to us to know that what we've been building over 10 years has really also been able to help support the attraction of much larger pharma companies. We've been talking about this for years, that this ecosystem will flourish with a group like AstraZeneca coming. And so all along, we've been building and connecting and offering these events. And so thank you just for your vision behind that, but thank you for the support for the accelerator. Just by having a place to call home has mattered for our ability to build connections and sponsorships. You saw with the JP Morgan Bank coming. We couldn't have done an event like that in the past so easily, where they plug in and then they get to see all this great technology at the Device and Tech Expo. So they're building their businesses while we are, and also supporting the businesses we're trying to grow and build. So I can mention some statistics. Last year, we brought 8 companies to the accelerator operating in the lab space, everything from therapeutics to medical devices, tools, and a DNA manufacturing company. Some of those we see as high growth opportunities like Built Biotechnologies. They are manufacturing DNA at scale, and they're sending it off and servicing large pharma companies that are building these really novel gene therapies that they're doing that as a service to pharma. And so stuff is getting sent out here in these little packages costing $500,000. And we see that as a company we really want to grow in Albemarle County. That alone will be success of this program. That company stays and grows here because they got their first step here in the accelerator. They're already talking about moving with us to the next location and hopefully staying here at North Fork. That's how we envision this engine growing and building. One point that was made when we were looking at this project was, well, where are the companies going to go when they outgrow a single bench or a few benches? We've done a really good job of playing Tetris. We brought over $1 million of equipment into the space. And we know that we are going to outgrow the space very quickly. We knew that right as we walked in here. And we quickly turned to the Secretary of Commerce, who had supported us in the project, and thinking about other new projects, saying, how are we going to grow our footprint? And we were able to secure another $15 million as sustainable add-on to the pilot project. We've shown demonstrated success with that in our first year, so we are awaiting the final MOUs coming from BEDP. That first $7.5 million is going to allow us to build out a completely new footprint of space, 18,000 square feet, right across the street here at 4105. North Fork and the UVA Foundation has envisioned that space as an innovation building that they want to start with building out at the top level with wet lab space. We're going to be able to grow the footprint and the space for some of these companies. We'll be able to serve both the early stage and growing companies in that space. We'll more than double the size of the lab access that we have there. And we will be able to continue our operations right now to 2030, 2031. So this seed funding and support that you've given us has brought so much momentum to the region, attention from the state, attention from Secretary of Commerce's office. And we're supporting these companies to grow and build here and stay here. So there's a retention piece. There's also an interesting attraction piece that we've noticed. Companies know and are hearing about all the things going on. We've got strong social media presence, and companies are finding us from either across Virginia or outside Virginia. And that was a bit of a surprise how many we talked to last year as pipeline for this. So we have an attraction opportunity as well. We've been involved in many conversations with groups looking to find places for the companies to come, everywhere from the UK to companies coming from LA. Last week, we met a company who said, yeah, North Carolina, Virginia is where I think I want to build my company. We couldn't helped that company in the past, and now we can. So thank you for all the support. It's been it was a wild, amazing, fun year. We hosted 8 public facing events that had over 900 attendees, and we hosted our programming with lunch and learn events specific for the accelerator companies and our C-suite members, which are members of this community that are benefiting from the knowledge being shared by experts in legal, accounting, policy making, and other domains that are just giving insights that they wouldn't get otherwise. So that's really our educational arm to the things we're doing. So thank you. If you'd like a tour, we can go see the space and see what's happening and talk more if you have questions.
Thank you for sharing that. That was really great. I love to see how we're growing as a community. And I mean, even just coming from the discussion today, we build on each other. We rise together, essentially. And I love that.
Yeah, I see the vision and the follow-on opportunities for CPG in similar fashion. So we can build these different models and from success with the ones that have been growing, and we're meeting soon to talk more about.
And we've learned a lot from watching what you did.
It's good. It's feeding forward, and similar conversations happening on the defense sector side and renewable energy too. So it's having a good impact across sectors.
That was $15 million you received from the state too.
Yeah, so it's 15 million in total. Half of that's coming from the UVA Provost office. The first 7.5 million is for infrastructure build out and equipment. The second 7.5 is for operations. So basically, as we roll off of this 3-year Go Virginia grant, we'll pick up our operations support from UVA. We've really embedded ourselves with UVA Innovates, which is a new department cross entrepreneurial initiative for the university. Thank you.
So I think we're gonna have a tour. We will not adjourn the meeting because there are gonna be more than 2 of us on the EDA there, so we'll just continue and we'll adjourn at some later point, but I will say that we will, our next meeting is March 17th, back at our normal stopping breakfast. Although this is very nice.
Maybe a fundraising opportunity.
All right, let's have a tour. Growing together. Yes.
So proud.
No, they want to partner and.
Keep going.
Board of Supervisors wants to partner.
Thanks. I think that if you have the impact.
Build a new elementary school. It'd be growing business.
Oh, yeah, it's good.
Especially
Enjoy it.
on the-
Yeah. As long as it's not.
Yeah, no, I know.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. The best just leave our stuff, I guess.
Sarcasm. As long as you don't have later. It sounds like you check on the counselor. Okay. It's gonna be tricky. You sir? I will. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank
you. We're working on bylaws.
Yeah, they're done. And then I was doing a grammatical.
You wanna go on the store?
Yeah. I'm done.
Yeah.
Getting there. But I was like, had half a page left to finish, and I was like, I need to finish this before I depart this room.
So it's shocking, it's on the right spirit part of it. You're creating a couple of these meetings from the protocol. I feel like for the work you do, brought me into ECC, there should be a lot of legal, like motions,
Yes.
and, is it a roll call, is it a?
Yeah.
Like, so we either need to.
Yeah.
Get that support or know that we don't, so we need to shore it up.
Yeah.
So there's.
West will serve you, but one, it might be really great. Really, like, you want to ask somebody else. But that's not that. You get your benefit of the community. And you got how well. When you make progress, you get the benefit of processing with others on how the world do the thing that you said you're gonna do, become the kind of person that you would be. It's not like for let's say, and, often you can experience when you make a request, it's comfort, like when somebody doesn't actually grant a request, kind of make that very bad. Or maybe you're gonna experience, some freedom, or maybe you like, know something, because you should get it.
I don't mind the snow.
I like that. I'm ready for some more.
Hey, you don't know.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you. We have to,
We're gonna wait for everybody
we have
to
to-
officially adjourn.
Oh, do we have to?
Did that upstairs.
Oh, did he? Oh, that's okay.
He declared it adjourned.
did he?
Okay, then.
He did adjourn us.
He adjourned it.
Is the,
That's.
is the Albemarle
good.
County one included? That's the one.